Welcome to the Breaking 90 podcast, where we talk about all things sustainable fat loss. We take people on 90-day journeys to creating fat loss forever. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy the episode.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Breaking 90 podcast. I'm your host, Alex Harriman, here with my co-host, Kelly Sarlo, and we are two of the coaches of Breaking 90 Fitness. Thanks for being here. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Hey, Kelly.
Hi, Alex. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good. What's new in your world?
Well, we ran that Spartan recently, which was a lot of fun, and I could tell by the smile on your face that it won't be your last. So that's exciting.
Uh-huh.
Am I right or wrong?
You're so wrong. You've never been more wrong.
But you loved it.
I loved aspects of it.
Okay, what's your reasoning you won't do another one?
I don't think that physical pain is my definition of fun. That's my succinct version.
Yeah, that's fair. I like it.
Thank you.
Well, I'm glad you toughed it out and you've run too with us. It's fun and it's fun to have you there. So,
well, I will be there.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you. I'll take it.
I'm still a little bit sore today too. Yeah.
That was a beast.
Yeah. All right. Let's dive in. So today, we're coming into the summer season. There's going to be a lot of patios, parties, barbecues, get-togethers, social distractions, food distractions. So just wanted to talk about that a little bit today and then prep people for the navigation of that.
Oh, I like it.
Okay. So I really like your outlook on this topic. So I don't want to butcher it in the way that you say it because you talk about it with our members a lot. But I think just like to preface what you're probably about to cover, we have to pick and choose our battles, right? Like if your health and fitness is a top priority and your health and fitness goals are a top priority, you're gonna have to make some sacrifices along the way. You don't necessarily get to do what everyone else around you is doing if you don't have the same goals as everyone else around you.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts?
I like that you're saying that, and I think it's going to be hard to hear for some people who really are truly social, who enjoy that aspect of themselves, who maybe wrap that up in parts of their identity. And that's a real thing. Like I said, that's going to be hard to hear. But at the same time, that's where you really get to get real with yourself, which I think is really cool to say, how truly important is this goal? Is it an aesthetic, would be nice goal, or is it actually what I am truly striving for? And I have to have some radical acceptance and digest a reality that's maybe less than fun than I'm used to.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that's we're going to give you tips and tricks and strategies today to help you kind of navigate these things. I'm not saying you can't participate, but understand that we can all make progress and we can all make faster progress, and faster progress requires bigger sacrifice. So if you're not happy with your rate of progression right now doing what you're doing, then that requires change. That requires another level of sacrifice. If you have a busy summer schedule coming up and you've got social get-togethers every weekend, chances are you're going to have to make some sacrifice. And that might look like you still attending these, but making sacrifices in your choices at these social gatherings. It might be you not attending these altogether because you can't control yourself at these social gatherings. What a lot of people will try to do is restrict themselves enough Monday through Thursday to allow themselves freedom Friday through Sunday, which isn't gonna work. It's just not. You're going to a couple of things are going to happen here. One, you're going to create the restrict and binge cycle where you're starving, so you go nuts, and what would have been a controlled cheat day, if you will, ends up being an out of control cheat day. The second thing is you're probably not doing all of your training on the weekends. So now you're restricting yourself all through the week when you're probably doing a lot of your physical exercise. So your body now doesn't have the proper nutrients to actually repair and recover and perform in the way that you need it to, because you're depriving it of those nutrients so that you can fit in an extra hamburger on the weekend.
Yeah, so smart. I think that will also be hard to digest for some people.
Yeah, it sucks. We all want to live that life, right? But it's you've got goals. You're listening to this podcast for a reason. You're going to have to change some things to get to those goals. If you were already on your way there, you probably wouldn't be listening to this.
That's fair. And I think if you can hear what Alex just said as positive reinforcement and actually like a pat on the back of congratulations, then hopefully, you can kind of work at shifting that mindset instead of being bummed out by it, I'll say.
Yeah, totally. And now, so I'm not saying the only choice is to not attend these events or these get-togethers. There is the choice of going there. For a lot of people, they have difficulties with that because when the temptation's there or the peer pressure is there, they can't say no. So if that's an option to attend and decide what you're going to eat, what you're going to participate in, then by all means, let's look at that. Like there's a number of different things we can do to be successful at these events. One of my favorites is just eating before you go. Right?
Yeah.
Like take the guesswork out of it, have the meal before you go that is in line with your goals, and then when you get there, be like, oh, I've already eaten, thank you.
Yep.
Right? It can be as simple as that, but it isn't for everybody. You have to be really aware of yourself. If you know that that's not going to be enough, well, two things. You're going to eat less because you ate before you went. So even if you do eat at the social gathering, you're going to eat less of whatever is being served, hopefully. The second thing is that you're going to at least guarantee you get the nutrients you wanted. Like you're going to get enough of the protein, fruits and vegetables because you got those ahead of time. So that's one strategy, but what are your thoughts on that?
On yours or more?
Yeah, on that one specifically.
Yeah, I like it. And I think, some people will eat less, like you're saying, because they go full and it's just like they can peck or pick at a couple little things and feel fine, feel like they're still a part of things. And that's great. For some people, you've got to know yourself well enough that you're going to eat twice as much, right? You're going to fill up ahead of time and you don't like to be left out. There's a lot of people pleasers who don't like to make other people uncomfortable. They'll order a full plate and eat a meal because they don't want to make others feel like they're not participating. So
Right.
you've really got to know yourself and be honest about how you make your choices, because some of you will overconsume, even though your plan ahead of time maybe was altruistic to fill up on proteins, fruits, and vegetables first. And then you kind of run the risk of taking it too far with your calories.
Mm-hmm. Yep, for sure. That's a possibility. A smaller scale version of eating beforehand is like literally just having like a protein bar on the drive over or a protein shake on the drive over, so that because chances are if you're going to a barbecue or something like that, it's a very low protein meal. Like it's going to be like frozen hamburger patties, which are like super high fat, super low protein. So making sure we get enough protein is going to keep us a little bit fuller and at least guarantee we got enough protein. Another trick that I know is Kelly's favorite is just lie to everybody.
Whoa.
I'm just kidding. She
Go
doesn't like
on.
this. She doesn't like this one, but I like this one. You just make up a lie of why you can't eat.
Yeah. I've heard this before. Go on.
Kelly would rather you tell people exactly how you feel and why you don't want to eat and why you don't feel the need to give in to their peer pressure. But I think it's easier to just tell them you're sick or you're in a challenge or you already ate beforehand. And if this is a one-off, that's a really effective tool. If
Yeah.
this is happening frequently, it's not going to continue to work for you. But if this is like a one-off where you're like you really don't want to go outside your goals for this day, then just be like, my stomach feels like shit, I can't eat.
Yep. You know what? Today I'll get on board with that. I think there are situations too where like the people, and I think people really need to consider the company that they're keeping in more than one way. If there are people who are going to pick on you, coerce you, make fun of you, and really make it a focus and make things uncomfortable, and what Alex is talking about is far more accessible and the easier route, go for it. I think we've got some bigger issues if that's the case.
Yeah, yeah, especially if it's repeatedly the case. If you're just in a one-off social event, then sometimes that's the easier solution. Or even being like, hey, I'm in a challenge right now where I'm not drinking for the month. Like people are more willing to accept a challenge than a lifestyle choice usually, which is twisted and backwards. But it makes it easier for you to talk yourself out of one of those situations.
True.
Now, one of Coach Jerica's best pieces of advice that I really like is to actually show up to the event with food. So make it like a potluck style situation and be like, hey, I brought a veggie tray, right? Because now you can snack and you've also controlled one of the options that you can snack on.
Yeah, brilliant.
Um, I guess circling back to what Kelly said, like if it is an environment where this is possible and it's around people that this is possible, like it's important that they know why you're making your choices and why it's important to you, and it will help them get behind it too. If it's the right type of people, like if these are people you're going to be seeing on like a weekly basis and this is going to become a challenge many times throughout the summer, it might be worth you having that conversation with them and showing them why this is so important to you.
Yeah, and I know that there are tons of really fun excursions and activities in the summer. I hear frequently of like a bike and a brew, right? Where it's an evening every Thursday night, hosted by a brewery and a local biking company where you do the activities in tandem. And this is where you kind of got to sit down and go, okay, one of those things contributes to my movement goals and my activity goals. But then the other half really demands that I'm outside of the nutritional aspect of things. If I'm sitting down and having, excessive amounts of alcohol every week in the grand scheme of things, right? So it might be where you're saying, no, like even once a week is a little too much for the goals that I want to keep. So having those conversations of, yep, I want to join you for the ride, and I'm not going to be, joining you for the brew, or I'm going to be joining but just kind of here for the company. Like you can pick and choose and communicate what it is you actually need. um, and I'll say too, kind of in a bigger scale, planning the number of patio and barbecue events that you want to attend, right? Like if you are looking a month out, and we teach our clients this all the time, look at your month in advance and see how many Saturdays you've got social plans, how many Friday nights you've been asked out, to see like, okay, is this manageable with my goals, or have I committed to things that are going to constantly stress me and take me outside of what commitment I wanted to make to myself?
Yeah, I love that you said that. So typically we ask our clients to stay above 80%, meaning that they're going to hit their nutritional goals 80% of the time, and then 20% of the time we're going to allow the freedom to go outside of the nutritional goals within reason. We don't believe in like a cheat day or a blowout day, but you take those 20% of days and within reason allow yourself the freedom to do a little bit more of whatever you want that day. If you look at your calendar now for the whole summer, so say we count summer as 3 months, and you look at the calendar now for the next 3 months, and you're saying, okay, so 20% being 18 of those days approximately, and you start picking and choosing where those 18 days lie. If it's going to be way over that, you're going to have to make some sacrifices if you want to make progress with your health and fitness. And if it's a really good activity to do now at the beginning, instead of using up your 18 days in June or July, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, now I need to be super strict in August and I'm going to hate August, because that's not realistic either.
Mhm. Yeah, and that kind of leads me to the next, I guess, tip that I'll offer people is like, find other ways to connect with people. Yes, the weather is great and it's nice to sit out on a patio, and it's lovely to go to a barbecue and be with people that you hopefully want to be around, because that's still potentially a question mark. how else do you like to connect with people if it isn't over food? Right? Like you can still have wonderful conversations getting active with someone, right? Or connecting over a hobby or another interest. I think we default to putting food and a table between us to say that we're catching up or we have a good friendship, let's say. But are there other ways that you actually like to connect with your people? And does it have to always compromise your health and fitness?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I actually want to circle back to on alcohol because I feel like it's worth mentioning on this one because a lot of these events are going to include alcohol. Alcohol itself, like we often get people asking what's the best choice for alcohol. It's not necessarily just the caloric aspect of the alcohol. So we were like, well, I drink like a diet beer or I drink like a light drink. Well, that's saving you some of the calories. So when we're looking at creating a calorie deficit, we need that calorie deficit to lose weight. It's helpful in terms of the calories, but there's a lot more going on than just how many calories we're consuming, right? It's like having a piece of cake or having a diet muffin. Like the muffin's not going to taste the same. So if it's important to you to have the full calorie drink, or it's like you're doing this just so you can squeeze in more drinks, it's becoming counterproductive.
Mhm.
And the reason is that the alcohol, as we know, impairs our decisions, impairs our choices. So now all of a sudden you're more likely to eat things you wouldn't eat, do things you wouldn't do, sleep in the morning, not feel as great the next day, not exercise, not perform, not do other things in line with our goals, as opposed to just saving ourselves a couple extra calories. So it's like if you really want the alcohol because you love like a good craft beer or something like that, like just have the whole calorie craft beer, save the calories for it, allow yourself to have that for the taste component. You're not doing yourself a favor by going with the diet beer that you don't like as much so you can squeeze in more. We've got our three macronutrients, our protein, fat, and our carbs. Alcohol lies outside of those. Our body doesn't digest alcohol the same way it digests protein, fats, and carbs. So when we have alcohol in our system, our body's primary focus goes to tending to the alcohol instead of tending to the energy sources we're fueling our body with. And in turn, it puts things like fat loss on the back burner. Our body's like, oh, I got to deal with these 7 drinks this person just poured into me before I can focus on the recovery, the repair, the energy. It's the reason you can pass out at night after drinking and still feel groggy in the morning because your body's dealing with the alcohol instead of allowing you to get into a deep good quality sleep and recover and repair efficiently. And I don't say any of this to tell you not to drink. I say this to be aware of the choices that you're making and the fact that like your diet drinks aren't actually probably that congruent with your goals. So pick and choose, make your sacrifices where the sacrifices make sense.
Oh, I really like that. I think eating on track, obviously beforehand, like as though you were going to have a great nutritional day, is another tip that we always encourage. If you know that you're committing to this, this one meal that is going to take you over your caloric plan, let's say, eating on track as though you're having a regular great day and just letting that meal take you over is not the end of the world, right? We're not trying to binge, we're not trying to capitalize on this cheat day, like you said. We're just sticking within our points or our caloric intake as best we can. And then right back on track at the next meal, not the next day, the next meal.
Yeah. Yeah, I usually tell people like starving yourself before event is going to lead to you binging at the event. You can restrict a little bit. And what I mean by when I say that is like if you have like eggs, bacon, and toast every morning for breakfast, like have the eggs and bacon, don't have the toast. Like save a couple extra calories here and there, but don't restrict to the point that you go nuts. You still need to fuel similar to the way you've been fueling. Maybe minus like 10%, 20% on each meal to save up a bit more. But keep your routine as normal as possible. I love what Kelly said, right back on track right away. That's honestly the key to success. The people who bounce back, the we call what did I call it, the bounce back ability, something like that, is like the determining factor of success. It's rarely ever how hard you went or how much you fell off. It's how long it took you to get back on track. The people that get back on track the fastest always win.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think, just again, using another term that we talk about a lot is minimizing the damage. And we've talked a little bit about it in this show already, but just kind of spelling it out for people. Doesn't have to mean choosing the least caloric, beverage there. If you enjoy what you enjoy, order that on the menu and minimize the damage elsewhere. So that might be eating on track the rest of the day. That's a form of minimizing the damage. Or when you're showing up to that barbecue or that patio, session with your friends, making sure that you're ordering something that prioritizes protein if you're having an alcoholic beverage, right? And choosing a light salad or dressing on the side can be minimizing the damage sometimes, instead of letting the server pour the salad dressing everywhere. So there's different ways and different kind of intensities that you can minimize the damage as well. But as long as you can say, I worked to minimize the damage, you've done a little bit better than you did before.
A funny side note there is that like often when we look at a menu, the meal will come with fries, or you can like pay to upgrade to a salad. And people will be like, "Oh, like I'm not gonna pay $4 to upgrade to a salad." Like you you just fucking spent $4 on your Starbucks this morning. You could pay to upgrade to the salad for this meal, right? Like we get these little things in our head, like an app costs 99 cents. I'm not paying 99 cents for an app. There's free apps for my phone. Like this is not the time to be frugal.
Correct.
But it's just human mentality, right? I think restaurants do that intentionally too, because they know you'll just default to the fries. It's cheaper for them, it's easier for them to pump out. Yeah, that's just my little humorous side note.
Yeah, I hope that people still look forward to patio season, still look forward to the get-togethers that they are hopefully invited to, and that they just have a different mindset or mental approach to how they're accepting or declining them, and feeling really good about themselves whether they accept or decline, because that's the whole point, right? Is to just be doing this with more self-awareness and intention.
Yeah, make sure that where you're choosing, whether or not you're choosing to make your sacrifices, is things that are actually meaningful to you. Like if I'm going to use my extra calories on a dessert, it better be a dessert that I like.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Uh-huh.
Like it's not just like, "Ah, I've got these extra calories, so I'm going to eat this terrible treat."
Yeah.
Like it's got the same thing. Like if I'm gonna limit my days of freedom to 18 over the summer, then make it one that actually you actually care about.
Yeah, I like that. Can I leave them with the tip today?
Yep.
Just because I want to shock you. My tip involves Greek yogurt.
All right, let's hear it.
Because we're talking about patio season and barbecue and things like that. One of the things I absolutely love as a substitute for sour cream, because I love sour cream, is Greek yogurt and mixing it with like salsa or guac, just to kind of get that like texture and flavor. And it's good. It's so good with tacos. It's so good with nachos. Or if you've ever eaten a Mexican pizza and want to dip with it, it's just a lovely, lovely substitute. You can still enjoy the flavors. So I'm humbled, Alex, to encourage plain Greek yogurt.
You know what that tells me? That tells me there's a chance you'll run another
Oh,
Spartan.
for God's
Because you were so anti Greek yogurt substitutes when I first met you.
no, I know. You're right.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Wherever you're listening, please do us a favor, take a screenshot, share it to your Instagram, and tell your friends. Have a good day.
Thanks.